All right. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, Madam Deputy Clerk, members of council and members of staff and members of the public. Welcome to this special council meeting. This is a planning public meeting. Our planning public meetings have been moved to Wednesday evenings at 6:30 several months ago. So this is a regular occurrence, but it's still called a special council meeting for the purposes of our agenda. Council, Deputy Mayor Van Stavern is not available tonight, so he is not joining us, but we do have quorum, so we're going to continue on with the meeting. Council, we have an approval of the agenda. Item number 1, I'll read the resolution and I'll look for a mover and seconder. Recommendation be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby approve the agenda dated November 29, 2023 as presented. A mover and seconder, please. Mr. MacArthur and Ms. Deneen, thank you very much. Any questions on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor? That passes unanimous. Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Any disclosures in regards to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, if anything comes up during the meeting, please bring it forward. So at this time, we're going to move to our public meeting portion of the agenda. It is item 3.1 on our agenda. As is usual, our procedures is that we would pass the chair over to the deputy mayor. The deputy mayor is not here, as I've stated. So I will read and I will chair the public meeting portion, council. So, we will now initiate the public meeting portion of tonight's agenda. We invite you to comment on the applications being presented tonight and to engage in the process with us. If you wish to be notified of a decision of the Corporation of the Township of Clearview on an application being discussed this evening, please complete a public delegation form and submit it to the deputy clerk. Is the delegation forms available? Okay, we have them available. Thank you. There's the deputy clerk. The views expressed in the public comments are solely those of the individuals providing them and do not reflect the opinions of the township, its agents, or its employees. It is not possible for the township to verify the accuracy of all information provided by members of the public. The township therefore assumes no responsibility for any inaccurate information that may be contained within the public comments. If you have information that might be correct, clarify, or refute any statements contained within the public comments, please forward it to the Township Planning Department. Please be advised that your comments or requests to be notified will form part of the public record. Your communication and any personal information therein will be made available to the public unless you expressly request its removal. If a person or a public body would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision of the Township of Clearview to the Ontario Land Tribunal, the person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions before the proposed official plan or zoning bylaw amendment is adopted or passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. If a person or a public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Clearview before the proposed official plan zoning bylaw amendment is adopted or passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to hold the person or public body as a party. The following public meetings will involve a brief presentation by our planning staff. Rosalind's already there. An opportunity for the applicant or their agent to present their application, and a period of public comments or questions, and an opportunity for questions by the planning committee, which we are the planning committee. So at this time, we will now begin the public meeting with respect to item 3.1 on our agenda, the zoning bylaw amendment 2023-065. It's in regards to 5202 County Road 9. And on this evening's agenda, planning staff will now start our session off with a brief presentation concerning the application. Rosalind Workman is here. Rosalind, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Measures, and good evening. Tonight we are here for a public meeting for a zoning bylaw amendment, and it is file 2023-065ZB, and it is on the subject property 5202 County Road 9. And this is just a key map showing the property. So the property is outlined in black and gray. Again, it is 5202 County Road 9, and it is located in New Lowell in Clearview. This is an air photo, or what we call an ortho map, and it's the property is outlined in black here. And the existing policy framework of this property, the current Township of Clearview official plan designation is residential, and the current zoning bylaw category is residential large lot, or RS1. And this is a policy planning map that shows the yellow indicating the residential designation, and it's pretty small, but you would see a zoning category RS1 on that land. Thank you. And so the proposal tonight is that the application states that the purpose is to zone the subject lands from residential large lot RS1 zone to residential multiple low density exception RS3-XX zone. And the application states that the effect of the application would be to build a 2-story, 3-bedroom, single detached dwelling. The residential multiple low density RS3 zone permits a single detached dwelling, a semi-detached, or duplex. But due to the limited area on this site, the application will be limited to only a single. As the final point on this is that the site is limited in area and will be serviced by a municipal water service and a septic system, so a private system. And due to the site restrictions, the zoning is proposed to be limited to a single detached dwelling. And other exceptions to the RS3 zone would be to permit the development on partial services, which again is a municipal water service and a septic, and also to consider changes to the parking lot width and parking lot area. Now, this is a site sketch of the property. It is a bit hard to see, so I'll outline the actual lot in it with my pointer here. The house is contained in this area here with a deck, and this would be where the septic system would be contained. And out front, there are 2 parking spaces, which is what the bylaw requires. Notice in circulation. So notice of the subject zoning bylaw amendment application has been given in accordance with the Planning Act on November the 9th, 2023, and it was done through mailing out of notices to everyone within 120 meters of the property and posting a sign on the property. In addition, details of the application and supporting materials have been made available to the public and have been circulated to the relevant commenting agencies. This is just a circulation map. So the subject lands are shown in this little black area here, and all the notices for the public meeting were mailed out to this yellowish color here, and that depicts the 120 meters requirement of the Planning Act to circulate through a mail out. And then in terms of the public comments, so if we had received any public comments, they would have been part of the public meeting agenda. And that includes agency comments as well. And however, if we do receive comments after the meeting tonight, they will be published as part of the recommendation report that comes forward to council for consideration. This is my contact information. So if there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to still provide comments, we are open to receiving those. And this is, you send them through email or through dropping them off at the office. And this is just the outline of where we are in terms of the process. So tonight we're at the public meeting stage, and staff will then consider any of the comments received, public or agency. Then staff will provide a staff recommendation report to the Township Council. Council will either approve or deny the application. Then there will be a notice mailed out and an appeal period. If there is no appeals received, then the decision does come into force and effect. And that concludes my presentation.
All right. Thank you very much, Rosalind. If you could please remain available to answer any questions if questions arise. Thank you very much for your presentation. At this time, we'll move to the applicant. Does the applicant or their agent wish to provide a brief presentation regarding their application tonight? No, I understand that Sherry Atacola and Yoemi Akiniad, hope that helped, will be available, but are not providing a formal presentation, but they will be available to answer questions. Is that right? All right. Thank you and welcome. So at this time, then I'll move to public participation. Does anyone in the audience wish to make a comment, ask a question, address the committee with respect to this application? Questions may be directed to or responded to by the applicant, their agent or staff, but should always be addressed through the chair. And so please remember to complete and submit your delegation form if you come forward. For the first time, is there any member of the public who wishes to come forward and speak on behalf of this application? Going once. Going twice. Hope you can hear me okay. No problem. You're welcome to come forward and ask a question if you have any questions. Maybe I'll just give this member a few minutes to consider. No problem. Yes, the tree lighting happens in Stainer tomorrow as part of the community celebration. And the Horticultural Society will plug in their tree tomorrow as well. So that's happening tomorrow. And then, of course, we'll be down in Creemore on Friday night. So for the same kind of activity, tree lighting. And then Santa comes on Saturday. Yay. Gentlemen, I'm going to give you about another minute, unless are you ready to come forward and ask a question, or? Yeah, if it helps, can I just recommend that you take one of those yellow forms and fill it out, and then that way you can have your case heard if anything goes to appeal. If you don't have an answer, Madam, go ahead, Rosalind. Would you like to comment on that? Can you turn your microphone on, Ross? Yeah.
This sort of gives you a site plan. It's a little bit better to see with. So yeah, no, I get it. So, and there it is on the website, but I understand some people don't have that.
And then the other question was about environmental. Was there any due diligence done on environment?
Roz, could you invite them to come up to the podium and have this conversation? Come on up. Come on up.
So my question to Rosalind was about the environmental footprint of this property, because it's got quite an interesting history.
Yes, it does. Yes.
It had a demolition permit, but it didn't have a designated substance survey, and it had above ground storage tanks, but nobody could determine where they went or where the fuel went. So there would be some environmental concerns once you start breaking soil. And then the setbacks. Now that we've got the site plan, the other question was mostly just about how tight how tight the site plan is.
Good. Rosalind, can you answer some of those questions?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So in terms of I'll maybe answer the second question first. Basically, the proposed building envelope does meet all of the zoning requirements for the RS3 zone. So anything that wouldn't meet is being considered as an exception, and none of the setbacks were being requested or required in that zoning exception. And then in terms of environmental, it wouldn't be triggered through like we wouldn't know. I mean, I might ask the applicants if they've done any sort of environmental due diligence on the site in terms of and if you, I see nodding ahead, and wondered if you wanted to come and maybe help address that question for me. Sorry.
Could you please come forward and address that question? Thank you.
Yep. Good afternoon. Again, my name is Oyeyemi Akintade. And thank you for having us. And that's the entire family that you guys are going to be welcoming to the town of Clearview. And we're looking forward to this. My kids are very, very excited. They're just coming from school to grab them. I just have to say that ahead of time. They're looking forward to see the community, and they just want to see the town hall, and they're happy to be here. And as part of this question, in terms of the environmental test, we were mandatory to do a soil test on the surface of the floor, the site, and they came in there. I think we did it twice, if I might be correct, right? They did it the first time, and they said they have, because of the season, I think it was a winter time, around the time they did the first soil test, they said they have to do it again. And they went in there and did it and said it passed. Everything was good.
All right. Thank you very much for that. That helps. Hello, Amy. Director, go right ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to elaborate on Rosalind's answer on the need for a record of site condition. The Environmental Protection Act is other applicable law under the building code. A single detached dwelling is permitted as a right on this property. So any questions relevant to the quality of the soil would and can be deferred to the building permit. So it isn't really a matter of question for this.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. If there's nothing further, no further questions from the public. Okay. You've got the form. You can fill it out, and that gives you access to further information. All right. So I'll close the public portion at this time, and I'll look to our members of council. If there's our committee, if any members of the committee have any questions, please go right ahead. Yes, go right ahead.
Yeah, Ross, I'm just wondering, usually by now we have a comment from the county or Enbridge and the applicable agencies, and just wondering why we haven't received it on this particular meeting.
Rosalind?
Thank you through your Your Worship. So the applicants were actually required to do a minor variance process through the county of Simcoe because they are actually building a little bit closer to the county road than what the county bylaw requires. And that was part of their submission application, that the county had granted them that minor variance. So in terms of comment, the county probably has just thought, well, we've already given them the minor variance and the clearance letter. So I just assume they feel they've commented or covered this application.
Supplemental, or you're okay? All right. Thank you very much. I see Mr. Walker is next, and then Councillor Denis.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Then Mr. Beelan. Sorry, go ahead.
Question. What's the frontage? I'm trying to look at this. What's the frontage on County Road 9?
Thank you, through Your Worship. It is 13.63 meters.
Okay, thank you. Now, was this part of the property to the west at one point in time, or has this always been a separate individual lot? Do we know?
Thank you for that question. And I believe when I look back in the county records, we have the air photos that you can look back. In 2008, there was an existing house. I don't have a lot of history on it other than it's been an existing lot of record for some time. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Councillor Denis?
Thank you, your worship. Through your worship to maybe Amy or Rosalind. Obviously, the side setbacks are okay for like snow falling off a roof and all of that sort of thing, and access to the septic tank for maintenance. There's enough room to get back to the back for that sort of thing.
Rosalind?
Thank you for that question. And I believe there will be, yes, that will have to be considered. And
the consideration for the neighbor's house being so close with the snow runoff and the drainage. Yeah. Okay. Now, the other question, I'm looking at the actual picture. Do those trees belong to this property that are going to have to be removed for this purpose? There are trees there that have to be removed. Is that going to be an issue with the neighbors as well?
Rosalind?
Yeah, good question. I don't have the air photos, so yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at it and there's some substantial trees on both sides of the property.
So if there's trees on their property and they have to be removed, then
Yeah,
they're
yeah, I
permitted.
was just wondering if they were, okay. All right, thanks.
Good questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Mr. Beelan is next.
Thank you, Your Worship. One thing I don't understand, could you not build this on an RS1? So why does it have to be an RS3? My second question is, how wide is the laneway and what's the variance there that we're changing it from? Yeah, the laneway and.
Rosalind, 2 questions there.
Yes, thank you for those questions. So the reason we're changing it from the RS1, because you are correct, they could build a house there. It just would mean that there would be potentially some other exceptions that we would have to look at. So lot frontage and lot area. So the zoning provisions in the RS1 are a lot greater than they are in the RS3. So in the RS3 zone, of course, you're allowed a single on 400 square meters and on a frontage of 13.5 meters. And so that's why we went that route as opposed to keeping it an RS1 when it really truly wasn't reflecting that zone. And then the second question was about explaining the parking, right? So in the general provisions of the bylaw, we have 2 specific things that deal with parking areas. And one is that the zone says that you can't have a parking width. So your driveway can't be greater than 40% of your lot frontage. In this case, because it's 13.63 meters and they're looking to have a 6 meter wide parking width, they are greater than that 40%. They're about 44. So we bumped it up to about 45%. And the second thing that we look at is the parking area. And we generally in that bylaw say that it shouldn't be more than 45% of the total frontage. And in this case, they're about 45.63 meters. And the reason we do that is so that we don't have cars covering the entire front yard or pavement covering that in total. Like we still have a bit of a green space or trees or something like that. So those are the 2 provisions as well. We're looking at allowing them to develop on partial services, which of course most of New Lowell is on partial services, you know, water and a septic. The RS3 zone actually says full municipal services. And that's typically because we see that in more of our areas where there's settlement areas that have full municipal water and sewer.
So you answered my question. The laneway is going to be 6 meters wide then, because I was concerned if it's too small, that's a fairly busy road. If ever you wanted to back a trailer in there or something like that, it would just be kind of dangerous with a skinny laneway. But it is 6 meters wide.
It's 6 meters wide, and they do provide 2 parking spaces, which is what the bylaw requires. And they provide the appropriate size of that space. So our bylaw says that it has to be 3 meters by 6 meters. And so they are providing 2 spaces that are that size.
Perfect.
Thank you very much, Mr. Beelan. Anything further from members? Nothing further? All right. I'm glad my question was answered in regards to the side setbacks. I also have always been concerned about building right out to the property lines on both sides. So would certainly would want to make sure that the structure will have space on their own property to be able to access the backyard for maintenance of the septic system and further activities in their backyard. So thank you for that. Okay, so that's it for this portion of the meeting, unless there's anything further from councilors or nothing. Okay, so then I will conclude the public meeting with respect to item 3.1, zoning bylaw amendment 2023-065. It's regards 5202 County Road 9 for this evening's agenda. We thank all that attended and provide comments for their interest in the matter. All input received with regard to this proposal will be fully considered by staff in their recommendation and by council in their decision with respect to this application. A report regarding the proposal will be prepared for council, who will make a decision regarding the matter at a future meeting. And so I close the public meeting portion of tonight's agenda and turn back to our regular agenda. Members of council, we have a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of this council meeting, given there's no further business. Recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 23-107, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the November 29, 2023 special council meeting, be presented and read a first, second, and third time finally passed on the 29th day of November 2023. Mr. Broderick, thank you. Mr. Beelan, thank you. Any questions on the bylaw? All in favor? That carries unanimous. And council, we will go to a motion to adjourn. And just before I do that, of course, I will remind everyone that we, of course, do have the Stainer tree lighting happening tomorrow night, the Creemore tree lighting happening on Friday night, and on Saturday during the day, we have two beautiful Santa Claus parades to celebrate the holiday season in our community. And I hope that we all come out. Motion to adjourn at 6:58, moved by Mr. Look at the hands are all up over here. I'll tell you what. Let's go with Deneen and Walker. All in favor. Thank you very much. That carries. Thank you everyone for participating and joining us here in our special meeting. Have a good evening.